Well, today's a big day because we have a major new addition to the shop. Been wanting to get one of these for a really long time. This is actually very vintage. This is one of Park Tools' original bicycle clamps from the mid to late 1970s. And I was able to pick it up and install it on a piece of thin wall electrical conduit, anchor it to the floor, and anchor it up into the ceiling joists. And I reorganized the shop in order to make room for more room for bikes when they're on the rack. And I even left a spot right here by an outlet for something that I know will be a future addition, and that is a parts cleaner. Definitely sorely needed in this shop. But that's going to have to wait until sometime in the future. But on today's episode, we're going to be putting the rear wheel back together and see if we can get to anything else. That's what's happening on this episode of Featherstone Bicycles. So to get started on assembling the rear wheel, we'll put some grease into the bearing race of the rear hub on both sides. And take apart our axle. We're going to have to play with this a little bit as far as the spacing goes because it's the rear axle. There will be a difference on how far these cones are away from the outside here. Can leave these off for now since they're the last pieces. But anyway, this is going on the drive side since it has to make up for this extra room. That's why this longer nut is here. Would be helpful if we put the ball bearings in first. So let's again count. There should be an equal number. So there's 5 there. 2, 2, 2, 2. So it should be a total of 9 on each side. Didn't film all of it, but what I was doing was getting the spacing from the end of this spacer, and again this is because the gang of sprockets, as I'm like to calling it, is going to be attaching on here. And I can't put that on before I put the spokes on, because then I can't get the spokes through the hub, the holes in the hub. But anyway, I wanted to get this all buttoned down and tight so that it was free moving, but no end play, or very little end play. And needed to get the spacing right from the end of this spacer and the end of this lock washer, so that the wheel sits in the frame straight. And when we get to the truing part, you'll see that what makes up for the difference here, in that this end of the hub is far away from this end of the axle, is the dishing of the spokes. But so the first thing we'll do is get some finish line lubricant on these spoke threads. And we'll start lacing them up. I've explained this several times before, but just for the benefit of those who are new to the channel and have not seen it and aren't familiar with how to true the rear wheel of a bicycle that has a free wheel on one side, there's going to be obviously more room on that drive side than there is on the non-drive side. And on the truing stand, you'll see, before I've tightened up any of the spokes, that the wheel is almost touching this pincher, and there's a whole bunch of space on this side. So what has to happen is the dishing, which is the angle of the spokes from the center of the rim here, or almost the center, out to the hub, has to be almost flat on this side, and the dishing bias, that it's called, has to be more on the non-drive side. So by tightening the spokes so that the pincher, so that the wheel rides in the middle of the frame, basically what I'm going to do is I'm going to be pulling the wheel this way. And as I do that, you'll see, hopefully, the camera is showing that the spokes are now exposed on that non-drive side, and you can barely even see them, if at all, on the drive side. So the first thing we do in order to make sure, I should say the first thing we do in the truing process to make sure that all the spokes are evenly spaced, evenly tightened, we're going to screw down the spoke nipples to a point just below where the threads disappear. Check to make sure that we've done the job correctly. We're going to put the wheel in the frame. And tighten her down a little bit. Get it all the way back in the dropouts, and hopefully you can see that it is, let's see if I can get the camera there, it is riding right in between the two chainstays. And you can probably see from this angle that there's hardly any dishing on the drive side, and then there's a lot of dishing on the non-drive side. And to finish up our process, I'm going to put the spoke guard on. I have to take this nut back off. And then get our gang of sprockets, as I'm calling it. I can use a chain whip, I think, to can put our washer and nut back on.
Puerto Rico, esta bomba yo la dedico a toda mi gente de Puerto Rico, a la familia Fontanet, allá en Cupe Alto y Lo Mejía en Vega Baja, que gocen. ¡Sí! Bomba, bomba.
One last little item that needs to go on is the reflector, and that goes on about here. Got it lined up over the spokes. And that's it. The other thing I want to do for this episode, which is episode 9, is take care of the seat and seat post clamp and the 2 reflectors, because I was just checking my inventory over there and I've got the brakes to do, plus the kickstand assembly, plus the chain. And so that should cover 2 episodes. So to finish up this 9th episode, again before the finale, which is the 12th episode, we'll take the seat apart here and clean her up. shine up these reflectors. got all that cleaned up, and just one last thing I wanted to show you all was that the blue handlebar tape that I had, this is what Schwinn called opaque blue, and I'm not sure what these two blues are, but they're definitely a little bit darker. I thought they would work with our bike, but then I found a sky blue that's darker blue. It's actually a translucent, still in the original package, Western Flyer, same thing, Hunt Wild handlebar tape, and so picked that up off of eBay. Had to pay up for it a little bit, but at least it'll be correct for the bike. Thanks for sticking with me, and I hope to see you next time on Featherstone Bicycles.